on in. Come on in. Aries Rose here. Wanted to hop on to do a quick live to talk about some different things that I've seen out in the news today. So, you know the drill. If you are on the live, make sure you let me know if you are a returning Aries crew member by saying hashtag Aries crew in the comments. And if you are a first time watcher, let me know and say first time watcher in the comments. I want to give you a shout out for stopping by and spending part of your day here. It is greatly appreciated. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Aries Rose and welcome to Aries Rose TV. We're going to talk about a little entertainment news. We're going to have a small political corner because we're going to be keeping an eye out on what's going on with politics. Whether or not you like it, it definitely impacts your life. And there's a whole lot going on since we got a new president in office. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So some of the topics that we have lined up for you tonight. We're going to be talking about Miss Valletta Wallace. She is the mother of the notorious B.I.G. He passed away in 1997. He was a huge rapper at that time, and his legend has only grown since his passing. And his mom was a big part of keeping his legacy alive. And she recently passed away on February 21st. So today was her funeral service. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about exclusive audio that ABC was able to obtain from the Jane Doe that was suing Jay-Z, saying that he had taken advantage of her. And that audio is pretty explosive. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Dawn Robinson from In Vogue. She was one of the singers that was a part of that group, and they were big in the late 80s and early 90s. Very, very good R&B group. We're going to talk about a revelation that she has made recently. And in the political corner, we're going to talk a little bit about President Donald Trump kind of doing some advertisement for Tesla and some of the different things that have been going on in the federal government here. So we're going to touch on that a little bit. And let's go ahead and get started. So first, we're going to talk about Ms. Valletta Wallace. So she was the mom of the notorious B.I.G., and she was the one who really kept his legacy going after he was murdered back in 1997. And to this day, that murder has not been solved. And she did a really good job of making sure that his name and his memory stayed alive, even though he was not. And she's definitely going to be missed. She was a big part of the hip hop community. Anytime he was going to be given an award or part of anything, I just remember her being there. So I really, when I think of him, I think of her. And I thought she did a great job as a mom of really looking out for her son. I was very inspired by her. And today she was laid to rest. So there were several mourners that came out to attend the service at Frank Campbell Funeral Chapel, which is also where the funeral service was held for her son, Notorious B.I.G. 28 years ago. I can't believe it's been 28 years since he's passed away. I'm going to take a few moments here to do some shout outs for some people I see here in the comments. Gigi, how you doing? Thank you so much for being on here. We got Allie. How are you? Thank you. We got Efren. Let me know if I'm saying your name right. Welcome, welcome. And let me know if you are part of the Aries crew by saying hashtag Aries crew in the comments, or if you are a first time viewer, let me know. And if you have not already done so, please hit that like button. It helps the video to get out there. It also lets YouTube know we are here. Appreciate that so much. Ricardo, buenas noches. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now we're going to go back into the story here. First time. I appreciate you being here, Ali. Thank you. And some of the people that showed up were some celebrities, especially people big in the music industry. So you may be familiar with the names. We have Faith Evans, who is the mother of CJ, the son that she shares with Notorious B.I.G. And we also have Little Kim. And Little Kim was a big part of Notorious B.I.G.'s music career. They did a lot of music together. I think they even had a little side relationship for a little bit. So I think that was really nice that she showed up there to provide support and to show, she was sad about his mom's passing. Mace, who also did a lot of work with him. Mace was big on the Bad Boy label as well. Diddy's son, because as you know, Diddy is in MDC, so he's not able to be there, but his son, Christian Combs, was there. And I thought that was good because Notorious, B.I.G., Biggie, he really made the Bad Boy label. He put them on the map. Ali, shout out to you. Thank you for being a new subscriber. I appreciate that. It's Issa. Hello, how you doing? Couch 69, welcome. Thank you for being here. And he was a huge part of making that label the legendary label that it became. I mean, there were other rappers and singers and R&B artists that were on there, but I fully believe if it wasn't for the Biggie, that Bad Boy wouldn't be what it was because he was just such a great talent and he really made that company what it was and helped to elevate Diddy, who was able to then get more talent and to expand his business. So I feel like he was a huge foundation of that company. So I'm glad to see that Diddy's son was there to say goodbye to Biggie's mom. And also his children were there, Tatiana and CJ, as well as Jay-Z's mom, Gloria Carter, came out to support. And I think that's great. I'm sure there were some others there, but that's what I was able to find and see from the report on TMZ. And let me know your favorite Notorious B.I.G. song. If you follow his music, let me know what your favorite song of his was. Let's keep that memory going, and may she rest in peace. And we're going to go to our next story talking about Don Robinson from In Vogue. So they were a big R&B group from Oakland, California. Came out in the late 80s, early 90s. They have so many hits. They have the song Hold On, What's It Gonna Be, Never Gonna Get It. I mean, the list goes on and on. One of my favorite girl super groups. I think they were just one of the best, and I love that they were out from the Bay Area. So shout out to the Bay Area, shout out to Oakland, shout out to San Francisco. And she had a revelation that I did not know about. Crybaby to Earthling, welcome back. How are you? Thank you so much for coming back on. Appreciate you. And she let us know that she has been living out of her car for 3 years. My mouth dropped when I saw that she was living out of her car for 3 years. First of all, there's no shame in that because housing costs are crazy. The cost of everything is going up. So I completely understand if your money is not the same as it used to be. It just surprises me when somebody who I felt like was at the top echelon of their industry is experiencing financial troubles. I mean, that just should let you know that maybe there's not as much money in the music industry as you may think. I don't know what she gets by way of royalties or anything else for the music that she's been a part of, but it was just something I didn't expect to hear from her. So she talked about that on her YouTube channel. That's where she made the revelation. And a couple of groups that she was a part of, in addition to In Vogue, she was a part of Lucy Pearl. And they had the song, she was also in that group with Raphael Sadiq, who was also a part of Tony, Tony, Tony. And I know they had that song Dance Tonight, which was one of my favorites. I want to say that was like the early 2000s. That song came out, and it was along with Love. It was on the soundtrack for Love and Basketball, if I'm not mistaken. That was a really, really good song. One of my favorites from that time. But she was on that one, and she was in that group. And she was also a part of Dr. Dre's group Firm. So if you remember that, let me know in the comments. I can't remember what they've done, but I'm sure I've heard of them. I gotta look that up after this live here. But she has, In Vogue, they had done over, I think, 20 million in sales, and the uh, album that she dropped with Lucy Pearl, that one went certified platinum at the time that that came out. So, I mean, she's definitely had success in the music industry, but maybe as years go on, the money just isn't the same. So maybe it goes down over time. Not sure, but I haven't really seen her doing anything new recently. So that may also have something to do with it. If you don't kind of have a continued stream of income coming in, it's going to be challenging. And I believe she's living out here in California, and the housing costs are really high in California. So I'm not surprised if there's a little bit of a struggle there. Just really sad to hear that. And I'm hoping that the fact that she shared her story can connect her with some people who can help her get some opportunities to be able to get back on her feet, She said the struggle started during the pandemic, and I can understand that. That's where it happened for a lot of people during 2020. That was definitely a tough time when everything just kind of shut down and shut down unexpectedly and pretty fast. And it was shut down for quite some time, especially in California. I think it lasted longer there than a lot of other states. So that probably impacted her ability to go out and make money and do different things, since a lot of events that required a lot of people to be together kind of weren't taking place for a few years for sure. And she had been staying with her parents in Las Vegas, and I guess that didn't end up working out for too long. And her co-manager had convinced her to move back to Los Angeles. Maybe they were trying to tell her that there'd be some other opportunities or things they could do for her coming out there. So she did that, and they ended up just putting her in a different hotel all the time, so she was staying in a string of hotels instead of them finding, like, an apartment or more of a permanent place for her to live. So she just kinda looked into living in her vehicle and started doing that, and says that she takes showers using her gym membership. So prayers out to her. I hope that her financial situation can change. You're definitely not alone, so don't feel bad about that. I'm glad that she shared, because maybe it will inspire some other people to reach out if they need help and to not be ashamed of their situation. When you see somebody of that caliber sharing that story, it makes you feel less bad, because it can happen to anybody. I feel like most people are one paycheck away from being homeless or having a real serious situation go on. And, it's just fortunate if you don't ever have to deal with that, and definitely be thankful if you haven't. And let's take a few moments to take a look here at the comments. So I see it's Issa and Crybaby are chatting with each other, if you guys are still on. And then let's see. I'm not sure how you say this. What is this? Defrock? Defrac? Not sure. But welcome. Thanks so much for being here. If you haven't already done so, please hit that like button. It helps the video get out to more people. Lets YouTube know there's people on here that want to see it. Would greatly appreciate that. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can find out every time I go live, upload videos, shorts, and do posts. We're definitely trying to do more live. So if you have any stories or things you'd like me to cover, please leave them here in the comments, or you can leave it on a post on the page. If there's something I can find on it, if I have information or can locate information on it, I'll be glad to do the story. And let me know your favorite In Vogue song or your favorite Lucy Pearl song if you're familiar with those groups. I like to know what music you like from them. And we're going to now go into ABC got exclusive audio from the Jane Doe that was suing Jay-Z through Tony Buzbee. And this audio, she says, and I believe it was two investigators, but don't quote me, but she says that Jay-Z did not engage in any relations with her. Now, let me kind of go back if you're not familiar. A lawsuit was filed by Tony Buzbee, and she's been listed as Jane Doe. So, as of right now, her identity is not known. It may be known to the people involved in the court case, but it has not been publicly disclosed at this time. And that lawsuit was filed against Diddy, and allegedly there were other celebrities that were involved as well, but it was just Diddy that was named. Now, Diddy has had a whole lot of things going on and a whole lot of lawsuits filed against him. So it was just kind of like one more lawsuit that was filed against him. And given the different things that have been seen and the different stories that have come out about Diddy since Cassie filed her initial case in November of 2023, I believe, you know, the public opinion on Diddy has changed, and he is incarcerated right now in MDC. So he's awaiting his trial, which I heard is coming up in May. So we'll be keeping an eye out on that to see how that goes. But, the case just kind of piled up as any other case. And it wasn't until it was amended to add Jay-Z's name onto it that it just kind of exploded, because the minute Jay-Z became attached to it, obviously that became worldwide news. He's married to one of the biggest pop R&B stars on the planet right now, Beyonce. And he is also a huge name himself in hip hop. He's a billionaire, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, you're talking about somebody who has a name, a reputation, and a lot to lose by being attached to this. The allegation was that they physically did stuff to an underage child because this Jane Doe was saying at the time she was 13 years old that this occurred. And so Jay-Z vehemently, Vietnamese, well, I never say that word right. He definitely denied that that was true, that none of those allegations were correct. He never did anything, and he stood by that from the time that this was made public, that he had any statement to say about this. And he wanted, at one point, for the identity to be disclosed of this Jane Doe. And I can understand that if you are making that serious allegation, you want to know who you're talking about because, how do you kind of mount defense if you have no idea who this is about that's accusing you to be able to say this is untrue? But the judge did say that that person can remain anonymous for the time being. It may be later on that the identity has to come out, but for right now, that identity doesn't have to be released. Well, it looks like, in the background, there were investigators doing their own research to see what was going on. And I'm not sure if these investigators were tied to Jay-Z or not, but they obviously got a chance to speak with this Jane Doe. And that's kind of how we got to these audio tapes here that ABC was able to get, that she's stating that Jay-Z did not do anything to her. And that lawsuit has since been dismissed. And it was dismissed with prejudice, which means that it cannot be filed again. And it was voluntarily dismissed by Jane Doe. And the statement from Tony Buzbee was that she's standing by her claims, but is dismissing the case because she was allegedly being harassed and different things. But if you stand by those allegations and that really happened, I'm not sure why you would drop the case with prejudice. So that kind of made my eyebrow raise. Like, why would you drop it to a point you can't raise it again, but you're standing by the allegations? It kind of doesn't make sense. And at this point, you've already put it out there. So why aren't you moving forward with it? And she also did an interview on television, which I believe was NBC, but let me know if you remember the station. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I did watch that interview, and that interview is when I started to question whether or not there was any truth to the story because it just wasn't adding up. 1 plus 1 was not equaling 2 in the story. And when it was also discussed that her father, who allegedly picked her up after this incident happened in New York, the VMAs in the 2000s, picked her up from, I think, like a gas station, and the address that the TV station was able to find that was registered to this person around that time frame this would have took place was 5-6 hour drive to New York. And the father said he did not remember driving all the way there, picking her up and bringing her back, or that situation. To me, that was a red flag because that's something that should be pretty memorable. A 6 hour drive, 5-6 hour drive one way to pick up your teenage daughter that was allegedly treated in the way that she was and had things done to her that she alleges, that is something you should remember. I would think that's something that stands out in your mind, and the fact that he didn't remember and her story just wasn't making sense. She was saying people were there that weren't there. Like, I think the Maddens, she was trying to say she was talking to them at one point, but they weren't even in that city or they weren't even in that state for the VMAs in the 2000s. So there were a lot of holes. And to me, when you go to sue somebody on the caliber of Jay-Z, you better have an airtight case. So I'm actually pretty surprised that Buzbee even allowed this person to go on and do an interview, because if you have an active case like that and it hasn't even gone to trial, anything that's being said can be used later on. So to allow that, if that was something that he did allow or his law firm allowed, I thought was really bad because that was just going to make the case not look good or just set up for stuff that the defense can use later. And to me, it looks like that story going on TV had a lot to do with where that story started to fall apart. So I guess that worked to, Jay-Z's advantage because he always said that he wasn't involved in that, and none of that was true. But the sad part is when his name was added onto that case by Buzbee, he did that when his daughter and Beyonce were having their premiere for that new Lion King movie that came out a little while ago, and his daughter was on there voicing one of the characters, and that kind of just overshadowed what was, going to be a nice highlight moment. Their daughter, Blue Ivy, I think it was one of her first, or, she's had not a whole lot, but it was, one of her beginning acting projects, and to have that story kind of overshadow. I had heard that, there were questions of whether or not Jay-Z would show up at the premiere with his daughter and Beyonce because maybe he wouldn't want to take the attention away, but he was there supporting his family like he should. But it's really unfortunate that that cloud was kind of over their ability to enjoy that time because of those allegations there. So I can understand his frustration about that and wanting to make sure to clear his name because, again, Jay-Z is a billionaire, so he does business. His name means something out here. So people may not want to be associated if they think you're involved in something like that, especially if it's tied to Diddy, because right now Diddy's name is kind of sullied out here. Maybe it's not thought as highly of as it used to be. So I can fully understand why Jay-Z wants to make sure and protect his name, his legacy, his money, and his family. And so, as a result, he has sued Tony Buzbee and Jane Doe, saying that they knew that the allegations were not real, when they filed that lawsuit. And hearing that audio, because I went and heard the audio and I listened to it multiple times, she said that he did not engage in anything with her and that she was pushed to include Jay-Z's name by the attorney, Tony Buzbee, to which Tony Buzbee then provided his own audio to ABC of him speaking to Jane Doe saying, did you say that I'm the one that made you add Jay-Z's name onto there? She's, no, I never said that. I don't know which audio is the truth because there are two contradictory statements here. What I do know is something doesn't seem right if the story can't stay consistent. So, I'm questioning if Jay-Z really had anything to do with it or not, but we'll see what comes out from the lawsuit. But this audio cannot be good at all. Let me know what you think in the comments. And kudos to Jay-Z for going out there and fighting for his name. Sometimes that's all you have, and I'm not mad at him for saying I'm not going to allow you to just say whatever and do whatever, especially not on the public level that was done and not address it. And if you are just joining, welcome. Let me know if you are a returning Aries crew by saying hashtag Aries crew in the comments, or if you are a first time watcher, let me know. I want to give you a shout out in the comments. Appreciate you being here. And now we're going to talk a little bit about politics here. So, Linda McMahon, who is the wife of Vince McMahon. And if you don't know Linda McMahon's name, you may not be a wrestling fan, but you've probably heard of her husband, Vince McMahon. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, he's a larger than life figure. He really, to me, made wrestling mainstream. And he was an owner of the WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, up until either 2024 or 2023. I think it's 2024 when he stepped away after a major lawsuit was filed against him by Janelle Grant. You can check out a short that I did on that. So that lawsuit is still ongoing right now, but he needed to step down because there was some pretty salacious stuff that was in there. And so now the company is being headed by some different people. I know Triple H is a part of it, who's a former wrestler, and Tony Khan is, I think, the president. And Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, also does some stuff with the WWE as well. But right now, there's no McMahons that are running that company, and they have been running that company for a very, very long time. So it was a big deal. I mean, Vince McMahon is always going to be intertwined with wrestling, and I think he was a major contributor to making that sport, entertainment sport, what it is today. But, maybe it was time to move on and pass the torch to keep the legacy going with another generation, other perspectives, and it looks like he's moving on to other things in his life right now. And his wife was nominated and appointed as the Secretary of Education. So she is now over the Department of Education on the federal level. And President Trump has made no secret, and neither has she, that they want to dismantle the Department of Education, which has gotten mixed feelings. Part of the reasoning was because the test scores are so low, and I'm not sure if they were seeing the value of the Department of Education, and then you have others that feel like it should not be dismantled. It's very important to have that federal agency there because while most of the stuff for schools is done at the local and city level, you still need that oversight of the federal government. And there is still funding that comes through the Department of Education that's doled out to different states and schools. So there is still some type of value there, but it looks like they're laying off about or have laid off or will lay off about half of their staff. So the federal government is seeing probably one of the most massive downsizings I've ever seen in my life. And we'll see what the repercussions of that are. But if your kids are in public school and things change or you see some slowdowns and stuff, be aware this is what's going on. I saw that they needed to vacate their offices by 6 o'clock yesterday. They needed to be out of the offices, and I think they're kind of like on administrative leave right now until they get further notice. So we'll keep an eye out on what's going on there, and we'll see how it's impacting. I know the stock market dropped quite a bit. I want to say I heard 900 points, but don't quote me on that. And the stocks are following what's going on in politics. So if the stocks drop, that means there's not a lot of confidence. And there were tariffs that were put in place against Canada, I think, on steel and aluminum. And Canada was talking about doing a surcharge on electricity to citizens in America that they provide electricity to, or that they would even be willing to shut it down if the tariffs continued. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now on that level, and let's hope everything ends up balancing out because, everybody who gets stuck in between when these costs go up on everything are the ones who are taking the largest hits on all of these changes and policy moves that are being done there in DC. And also, we got to talk about President Trump did, kind of like looks like a little advertisement for Tesla. So it looks like Tesla's stock has gone down. Elon Musk's involvement in Doge and the laying off of a lot of federal workers and other things along those lines there have not been such a popular move with the public. And it looks like his business is definitely suffering. I'm hearing that there are protests that are taking place at Tesla's because people aren't happy. And you touch people in their pockets and you're going to get their attention. And I don't know if what they're doing is right or wrong. They believe they have a mandate to go and clean things up and fix things up and get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. But I feel like what's considered waste is very objective. Like it depends on who's looking at it. Somebody will see that same expense and not feel it's wasteful, and somebody else thing to determine just based on who's watching it versus, who may be impacted. I know that the IRS had employees laid off. I would say I heard 7,000, 7,500. So make sure you get your income tax returns, get your returns done because there may be some delays in processing, especially if you have refunds coming back to you. And Social Security has also been impacted with staff members being laid off. So if you're trying to get Social Security benefits or you're on them, this may impact your wait time or how long it takes to get your benefits or even get your question answered when they don't have as much staff there. Because you got to remember, they still got to do all the work, but without as many people as they could spread it out between. So remains to be seen whether or not that's going to be a good decision for America or not in the end. But let me know your opinion, or if you are an affected government worker, let me know in the comments here. And that's all I got for you tonight. I'll be back on Thursday night for another live. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you'll get a little ding on your phone when I go live, upload videos, shorts, and posts. If you haven't already done so, please share. It helps YouTube know that we are here, gets the word out to more people. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.